They literally just voted themselves a salary increase. Listen to this.
Who should make more money? Ontario MPPs or Toronto City Councillors? Even after voting themselves a significant pay increase, MPPs are still paid less. They have now done away with a 16-year wage freeze and will be paid 3/4 of what their federal counterparts get. Winning a seat at Queen's Park will now come with a base salary of $157,000 a year. That's a 35% increase. It will also come with a pension after 6 years of service. MPPs have not received a pension in 3 decades since the Harris government.
Is it the pleasure of the House that the motion carried?
In a legislature known for political division, unfreezing salaries had politicians singing each other's praises.
Surprise, surprise.
I'd like to thank
nonpartisan
Premier Ford and his government for, quite frankly, having the guts to do this.
I too would like to thank the government for all the work that they've done.
Frozen.
Having the guts. Can't believe Doug Ford is such a great liberal leader because he had the guts to vote.
Give us more money. Fuck's sakes, man.
No, but hold on. It gets worse. It gets worse.
In place since 2009, MPP salaries in Ontario will now be tied to their federal counterparts, making 75% of an MP in Ottawa. The increase will also add $6 million to the current fiscal year. For years, successive Ontario governments have struggled with the thorny issue of pay, watching as compensation for other levels of government increased. Even with the raise, a Toronto City Councillor earns $13,000 more a year than an MPP.
16 years to have zero increase, I don't think is the right thing. And I think so today what we're doing is putting in place what I believe and my colleagues believe is the right thing to do
is the right thing to do while Canadians are struggling, while 25% of Canadians say that they live in poverty, where they struggle affording food, where 85% of Canadians are said to be living paycheck to paycheck. We got a bunch of overpriced politicians telling us that they needed a 35% increase so that they can make more than 150 grand a year.
We're looking for other candidates, qualified people to actually direct the future of the.
He's telling us that we need to pay them more because we need to attract better candidates. Are you kidding me?
Come on. That's going to attract, that's the whole point. Paying them more attracts worse candidates because it attracts greedy pieces of shit. You want better quality politicians? Pay them less. Make sure that there'd be no reason anybody would want to do it unless they really cared. What a ridiculous thing to say. Pay us more to attract better quality. Shut up.
For most of them, they have to take a huge pay cut to come here.
No!
The legislation means an $80,000 increase.
Tell me you don't want to
in Ontario. He'll make $280,000 a year.
Listen to how much more money he's going to be making. It's something like 75 grand.
The legislation means an $80,000 increase. As Premier of Ontario, he'll make $282,000 a year. By contrast, as Prime Minister, Mark Carney makes $419,000, and as Mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow makes $225,000. A 35% increase in one go is significant, and MPPs know it, which is why the government put out a technical briefing in advance of the legislation coming out to say that if MPP salaries had gone up by the rate of inflation for the last 16 years, it would have been even higher than a 35% increase. Alan Carter, City News.
How about we simply tie their salaries to the national average? If you want to make more money, guess what? Make it so that Canadians make more money. What a idea that would be. Eh?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Tied to the GDP growth while they're under their term. But of course, no, they would never want to do that. But that would make too much sense. Tie it directly to the performance of the country or the province or whatever type of politician they are. But they wouldn't do that. They never would do that.
But how is it possible that a bunch of politicians are capable of voting themselves more money. Like, how is that even allowed? In this case, it should have been put to a vote. The Ontario people should have decided. Do you think that your MPP deserve a 35% raise? Yay or nay? Not only should there be a referendum, but we should get to decide at the end of the year if they get their salary. They shouldn't be able to get to touch their salary until we decide, you know what? When I used to work for the men, I would have some bonuses. A lot of people have bonuses. And you know what? It was done on performance. If I sucked ass the whole year, guess what? My boss wasn't giving me a promotion, wasn't giving me a bonus. So why the fuck is this any different? You want a raise? No problem. We'll tell you if we accept or not. You want to touch your salary at the end of the year? No problem. Let us analyze how well you've done your job. But guess what? You don't get to vote yourself a salary increase because you're so poor at $150,000 a year. Off.
Prairie starts off with they're all overpaid. Yeah, and I mean that if you remember at the beginning of the segment, they were talking about it like it was like
they're suffering.
They're like members of parliament make even less than city council.
That doesn't mean
River. That doesn't mean the MPPs should make more. It means city council should be making much less.
You know what they should do? Instead of taking our money, they should learn from Nancy Pelosi. She doesn't ask for promotions. She don't need the promotion. Yeah, she just needs the title in order to know what's coming and invest appropriately. Amateur. Just like Sasquatch is saying. Sasquatch is saying, wanting a raise, amateurs. Yeah, I'll add to this to say you should do what Nancy Pelosi does and really this system.
Just use that sweet insider information. You don't even need a raise after that. That's how you build. You think Nancy Pelosi built $250 million in net worth from raises? You think she got that from raises? Come on, brother.
No.
Get with the program. Prairie says it's ridiculous. Dave B says, ask the homeless how they feel.
They were almost homeless. Hey, they were only making a few, like $120,000 a year, bro. They were in the streets in Toronto.
Should be the homeless that decide if they get a raise or not.
That's why I chose that video, because he's making it sound like, oh, it's so unfair that they're only making. He compared Ford to Carney. One runs a province, the other one runs Canada, and they should be more equal. Are you like that? Is DEI right there? That is DEI policy right there. So now the conservative politicians, because Doug Ford is a conservative. You might have forgotten because he's more liberal than the liberals, but Doug Ford is a conservative. I wonder if the people in Ontario, if we have any people in the comment section that actually is in Ontario and that thought they were electing a conservative premier. Are you happy with the way Doug Liberal Ford has been acting?
I just like how they're all congratulating each other as if it was some act of political courage. You know, he did that political, it was so politically courageous for us to vote to give ourselves more money. Like, shut the up, man. You guys are ridiculous, all of you. Sasquatch says, Canada's facing its greatest crisis ever. Isn't that what they say? The same people giving themselves raises and going on summer vacation. You can't make it. Well, yeah, because it's such a big crisis that they need all the extra rest and relaxation, and they need all the extra money to get them through this crisis. They need to be at their best. They need to be very rested and very comfortable in order to get us through this crisis. It's a real crisis. Just trust them. And he says 100%. Who would sign up to become MPP? I assume she means like, who would ever become an MPP if they're only getting paid $150,000? No one would ever do that. I mean, that's not nearly enough.
That tells you why people go in politics.
Yes.
It ain't about helping
those are the people that you do not want to go to. Anyone who wants to go into politics for the money is not somebody that you want to be there in politics.
Yet, good job, bro.
Yeah,
voted ourselves more money. I cannot believe how courageous Doug Ford is.
That took a lot of courage.
Because this is a big problem that all Canadians can agree with. Our politicians don't make enough money, and it's about time that somebody like Doug Ford actually stepped up to the plate and did the right thing.
Give them the
out of here.
The recognition that they deserve for all their
and you
hard.
Saw that grin. Like, look at the grin right there. Like, tell me you don't want to smack him.
Boys, we did it. It was a long, hard slog, but we did it. We finally got the money that we deserve